Education plays a critical role in shaping the lives of young Australians and contributing to a democratic, equitable, and just society that proposes cohesive and cultural diversity. The 2019 Alice Springs Education Declaration states that as a teacher, our main two goals are to promote excellence and equity, allow all young Australians to become confident and creative individuals, successful lifelong learners, and active and informed members of our community. To do so, teachers must understand and be familiar with the importance of the Australian curriculum and the clear expectations that have been provided to guide teachers. The Australian curriculum sets the expectations for what all young Australians should be taught, regardless of where they live in Australia and their backgrounds. The curriculum also draws on the best nation talent and experts and consults widely to develop the Australian curriculum and resources. The Australian curriculum has divided its expectations into 8 main learning areas. The disciplinary knowledge, skills, and understanding are explained in each learning area, such as English, mathematics, science, humanities and social sciences, the arts, technologies, health and physical education, as well as languages. Additionally, the curriculum lays out 7 general capabilities which helps teachers to apply the curriculum content into the classroom world and allows teachers to incorporate multiple learning areas into one lesson. These are literacy, numeracy, information and communication technology capabilities, critical and creative thinking, personal and social capabilities, ethical understanding, and intercultural understanding. And 3 cross-curriculum priorities that expand students' understanding of the 21st century world, such as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history and cultures, Asia and Australians' engagement with Asia, and lastly, sustainability. Each of these learning areas, capabilities, and priorities are important in developing students' learning, although humanities and social science plays a very significant role in learning. The Humanities and Social Science (HASS) learning area is very important in encouraging students to develop their ability to question, think critically, solve problems, communicate effectively, make decisions, and adapt to change. HASS gives students opportunity to explore their world, past and present, and develop a deeper understanding of how it functions. However, it is evident that the learning areas become essential, specifically in the prep foundation to Year 3 levels, due to the importance of learning about the basics of students' own history, how the world can change, the connections people can have to each other and the environment, and how diversity contributes to society. Broken into 3 subject areas, which are history, geography, and civics and citizenship. Each of these 3 subjects of the HASS learning area are integral in integrating HASS into the classroom, as teachers are easily able to cater students' learning needs to existing knowledge by making their learning relevant to the 21st century. The curriculum also points out specific knowledge and understandings within the content that teachers will need to explore, providing teachers with specific content, inquiry questions to ask, and explanations on how general capabilities and cross-curricular priorities can be incorporated. Pedagogy. Teachers become a co-learner, working together with students to investigate a topic and guide students through their inquiry by using the appropriate scaffolding. It consists of inquiring concepts of questioning, researching, analysing, evaluating, reflecting, and communicating. The role of teacher is to guide students through this learning by incorporating these concepts. During the questioning phase, students are either questioning or being questioned by the teacher. Teachers should pay special attention to the inquiry questions that the curriculum provides for each subject, such as why should we investigate this and what answers do you think we might find. The researching phase is when students gather and find the answers through collecting data. For primary students, teachers should make a conscious effort to incorporate this phase through a hands-on activity such as play. Teachers encourage students to ask questions like, where can I look to get the answers, and how do I know this information is valid? Through the analysing phase, students start to analyse the information they gathered. Students are able to closely examine and dissect information, such as what does this mean and why is it telling me this? The reflecting phase are when students reflect on the information. Students are able to refer back to their question and see how they compare with the information they gathered, such as, has this information answered my question, and did I expect this answer? Lastly, communicating is where students present and express the information they found, allowing students to see the topic from other perspectives. This is shown through media, spoken, written, drawn, and many other forms. This is also one of the most important phases, as students are able to share their knowledge and understanding, and their teachers are able to gauge what the student has learnt. The inquiry pedagogy supports the process of learning HASS in the classroom, as it allows students to take control of their own learning and develop their own perspectives. Prep incorporates history and geography into the curriculum through exploring the idea of my personal world, where teachers focus on developing students' understanding of their personal worlds including their personal and family histories and the places they and their families live and belong. History and prep, students can become familiar with their own history, looking into their heritage and past. For example, students can create photo albums showcasing important events and people in their own lives, using the inquiry pedagogy to reflect upon the photos they gathered. Students can then show an understanding of continuity and change through exploring their past. Students understand the significance and perspective through important events in their lives. Students also develop critical and creative thinking through exploring and organizing information through exploring their past. Teachers can also incorporate cross-curricular priorities by allowing students to share their albums, meaning students are exposed to different cultures such as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and Asian cultures. In prep geography, students are developing the understanding of place, space, and time. For example, students can create a community walk map that displays the students' recognition of the places they live and represent on maps. Students are using literacy skills by transferring their visual knowledge into written form and critical and creative thinking through allowing students to identify places and record information. Teachers can also incorporate sustainability by questioning students' understanding of what they think the community does to sustain these different places, such as people can clean the parks by picking up the rubbish. In Year 1, students will be exploring how my world is different from the past and can change in the future, and also how changes can occur over time in relation to themselves, their own families, and the places they live and belong to. In Year 1 history, students are gaining historical understanding through exploring similarities and differences, especially through their family's past. For example, students can draw what a classroom looked like in the past and the present, and use the inquiry pedagogy to analyze each picture's differences and similarities. Students will be using critical and creative thinking by analyzing and categorizing characteristics about both environments to compare. Students will also be using literacy skills to demonstrate their visual knowledge. Sustainability can also be incorporated by discussing how technology has changed and how they impacted on our environment, such as students from the past using paper to write on, and the present students using computers and iPads, which saves paper and uses less trees. In Year 1 geography, students are learning natural management and construction features of places and how these features provide evidence of change. For example, students can take local images of their environment and analyze them, then record down how they think they can care for this environment and what might happen if they do not care for it. Students are using critical and creative skills to analyze these images and describe specific features of their meanings. Students will also incorporate information and communication technologies capabilities through having to manage and operate technology to take these pictures and communicate their findings. The teacher can also incorporate ideas of sustainability through students actively thinking of ways that they sustain and take care of the pictures and the environment. In Year 2 history and geography, students are looking at past and present connections to people and places and remains of the past in their local area, coming to understand how connections have changed in the lives of people over time and space, how the community values and perceives the connections to the place. In Year 2 history, students are studying their local area and exploring, recognizing, and appreciating the history of their community. For example, students can create little diagrams of local places and environments they're familiar with. Students will be developing the literacy skills to describe features in their own local places in the diorama and discuss how these features have either changed or remain the same, examining causes and effects. For example, a student can create a ship in their diorama and when explaining could show a timeline of how the ship has evolved and changed due to technology developing. The arts learning areas also incorporate as students are creating artworks and communicating through creation. Priorities such as intercultural understanding as students are recognizing culture and developing a deeper respect, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and Asian culture as integrating into students' chosen places. In Year 2 geography, students are developing a mental map of the world by learning major geography divisions on Earth. Also, hierarchy of scale by which places are defined from the personal scale of their homes to national scale of their country, demonstrating their knowledge of different countries' relation to Australia and the connections that students individually have to these countries. The teacher will give students a world map depending on what countries and interconnections that students have and familiar with, and guide students to draw arrows and dots points identifying these countries and places. As the students are organizing information, students are recognizing cultures and developing their critical and creative thinking and intercultural understanding. Students are also expanding their knowledge on countries near Asia, connecting to Australian engagement with Asia. In Year 3, students are focusing on diversity communities and places and contributions people make, and diversity of people and places in the local community and beyond, and how people participate in their communities. In Year 3 history, students explore the historical features and diversity of their community, representations, individuals, and their contributions, symbols, emblems, and significance of the different celebrations and commemorations locally and in other places around the world. For example, during class, the teacher can introduce the book Stolen Girl by Trina Safiti. Students will then examine the main character's life in comparison to theirs by creating a Venn diagram. Students are developing their critical and creative thinking through identifying information such as similarities and differences. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history and cultures through developing respect and empathy for the stolen generation. In Year 3 Geography, students are developing an understanding of similarities and differences between places within and outside Australia through a study of environmental and human characteristics of place. For example, students will create their own island map based on neighbouring countries to Australia, using different features such as icons to locate a place and use a small description to explain each location. The island must also include different cultural features from their chosen neighbouring countries, such as temples and markets from Indonesia. Numeracy skills through interpreting and constructing through the graph and objects. Literacy skills through constructing and comprehending students' visual knowledge into written form, and Asian Australian engagement through students being able to express their knowledge and understanding of the country and its culture and geographical location regarding closeness to Australia. In Year 3 Civics and Citizenship, students draw on familiar concepts of personal experiences of fair play, different points of view, roles and consequences, and decision making, and students begin to develop an understanding of democracy and rules by people. For example, teachers will be introducing students to Australian laws, their school rules, and other local rules that apply to students. Students will use inquiry pedagogy to communicate by creating their own set of rules for an area of the school, such as playground or lunch area. These rules need to incorporate themes of fairness, sustainability, kindness, and safety. For example, students are to pick up any rubbish they use when eating so we can keep our lunch areas clean to stop animals from eating it. And their personal and social capabilities by understanding how they can participate in their communities and make decisions. And ethical understanding by exploring the students' rights and responsibilities, such as having the right to participate in caring for the environment, and sustainability through encouraging students to examine what rules they can make by sustaining in their local environment. To conclude, HASS is an integral contributor to Australian curriculum as students learn real-life skills through exploring history, geography, and civics and citizenship. It's also significant that teachers teach students from prep/foundation to Year 3 use specific inquiry questions, inquiry pedagogy, general capabilities, and cross-curricular priorities when teaching HASS, as in each of these concepts expands students' knowledge and understanding and help teachers promote excellence and equity, and ultimately allow students to become successful, confident, and informed members of the community.